Welcome to the Lady Up America podcast. I'm Diane Canada, your host. I am so glad you're here with me today, ladies. Boy, do we have a treat for you. And that word is going to have more connotations than you can even imagine today. Today, you're going to be introduced to Gigi Butler. Many of you probably know her. She is the founder of Gigi's Cupcakes. If you've had one of those delicious cupcakes, then you wouldn't forget it. But we're going to be talking about courage today. So the title of our episode, Courage is Contagious. Be right back.
Around this town. Around this town. Victory on the battleground. We claim it now. Lady up, lady up. Lady up, lady up.
All right, ladies, welcome back. Thanks so much for being here. I am so excited for you to get to meet my good friend, Gigi Butler, today. Let me tell you a little bit about her before we bring her into the program. So Gigi is an entrepreneur, founder, as I mentioned, of Gigi's Cupcakes, admits her story of success is full of sweet irony. She opened her first Gigi's Cupcakes location just off Music Row here in Nashville, Tennessee in 2008. Now, it's the largest cupcake franchise in the world. With an entrepreneurial spirit that needed an outlet, at the age of 16, she opened her first business, Gigi's Cleaning Company, which she continued to grow once she moved from California to Nashville. She cleaned houses during the day and sung downtown Nashville at night at the honky tonks. But after a decade of pursuing a career as an entertainer, the heartaches of the music industry just hit home. So she decided to step back, focus on her financial future. She built a sweet empire that was never part of her plan. She realized that her culinary and business skills could take her places that she never dreamed about. She decided to take a chance on her other passion, which was baking. So after being turned down by a lot of banks, she was down to her last $33. She went out on a limb and leveraged several personal credit cards to fund the first Gigi's Cupcakes store. Gambled everything, and I'd say it paid off pretty well for her. She's been on the hit CBS TV series Undercover Boss, which was viewed by over 15 million people and continues in reruns to this day, becoming one of the show's fan favorites. You've probably seen her on every other major network. You may have seen her TEDx talk. Her autobiography, The Secret Ingredient, Recipes for Success in Business and Life, is available. This is where she shares her personal success stories, hard-won business acumen, and the life-changing inspiration that she's gained from a challenging life. Each chapter includes a piece of business advice and a delicious, sweet, and savory recipe. You can also look for her devotional cookbook that'll be coming out soon called Full Belly, Open Heart. And she's also working on her next book, This Takes the Cake, What to Do When Faith's Been Shaken and Cake's Been Taken. We're going to have a great conversation today. Please meet my dear friend, Gigi Butler. Hi,
Hi
Gigi.
there. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much for having me. It's an
Thanks.
honor.
Oh, I've been looking so forward to this conversation
Me
today.
too.
You
Me
know,
too.
I wanted to talk today about courage because you are one of the most courageous people that I know.
Thank
And
you.
I think if we needed anything right now in our society, it's a good dose of courage.
Right.
And I would love to, let's go back before we kind of, talk about modern day challenges that we're
Okay.
facing. Let's go back. Like what gave you the courage to leverage those credit cards and open that first store? That is that had to come from a deep place of belief in yourself. But tell us about that.
Well, that was also in 2008 where the big financial crash was happening, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so most people are like, "You're crazy." And I said, I know. That's always been my middle name, I guess, because that hasn't ever been a problem for me taking big leaps. But the thing that scares me most is having the why didn't I, or what if I could have. I can't
Mhm.
live with what if. I have to live with why not. So my
Mm.
what if is more terrifying than why not.
Wow.
And so that's what and if I think if I'm going to be 90 years old, hopefully sitting on a porch and going, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I? I don't want to live with that kind of regret. So that's more scary to me than just going for it and losing everything,
Yeah.
which I have many times. So
Mhm.
it's more terrifying for me to not check that box and at least know that I did it and I tried the best I could. And if I fail, I fail. I just pick myself up. So I was at
Love
the
it.
point to where I really need to do it just because I know I can do it. And even if I fall, I'll be okay because God always has my back.
And that's the piece right there, the faith.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Faith in yourself, faith in God. And, did you ever read the book Failing Forward?
Yes.
So good because I mean
Right.
we're all so terrified to fail, but it's not fatal. I love when there's a great quote out there, something like "Failure is not fatal," and it's so true. Like there's life on the other side of our worst case scenario.
There is. And most people are so terrified to step outside of their box. So they would rather live in this comfortable little simple box. And they always live with regret, though. That's the
Yeah,
thing. Because they're in their mind, I know that they're thinking, because I've gone to thousands of speaking engagements and people say, gosh, I'm just too afraid. But in my gut, it's telling me. And I said, well, then that's the Holy Spirit leading you to do something and think outside of your box.
yeah,
And they cannot do it because they don't want to fail. But
yeah,
there are so many things worse than failure. And I just can't, I've fallen so many times and failed at so many things. But have I failed? Do I just recreate myself? Yes.
mhm,
I
mhm,
decide to just recreate. And that's the challenge and the great thing about being in America and being, living for now and only having one life. You only get one choice and one chance. So fall forward and keep going. And that's recreating yourself.
yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. I've been a serial entrepreneur most of my life, and one
Yes.
thing that has been really fascinating for me is when we step out in that faith. I don't want to ever encourage anyone to do some random like harebrained idea, but if you've really
Right.
prayed about it and you believe this is what the Holy Spirit's calling you to do, then you step out and you do it. I don't think there's any such thing even as failure. There's only learning. Like there's growing, there's learning. That's how we learn. That's how we refine. That's how we can kind of step back and come at it better with a different perspective. And I've failed so many times too. And I've had all the worst case scenarios happen to me. I mean, I've lost a home, I've had a car repossessed, I've had all these things happen.
Right.
I wouldn't want to go through it again, but boy did I
No.
learn. And I
Right.
always found that the sun rises again on the other side of that, and
It does.
you can recreate.
I think the biggest what lesson I can talk to the audience about is I decided to do a pie shop in 2020. Okay, 2020 for everyone was a disaster. We all know that. But in my gut, I'd always wanted to do a pie shop. So I put everything into this pie shop. And I'm like, God, if I fail, I fail, but I have to do it. And
Mhm.
is
I
it going to be
remember it
worth it
too.
on the, yeah, you remembered you were there many times.
Yeah.
I put everything into that pie shop. When I tell you everything. And then, and we were trekking along, it was going, all my creativity, everything, because I'd always wanted to do a pie shop. Even before I did the cupcakes, my goal and dream was to always do a pie shop, right? So
Oh,
here's my big dream happening. Here's all my hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings going into something. And then Omicron hits, right? And
oh yeah.
people are scared to death to come out of their homes once again. And
Mhm.
so my pie shop and my rent, my $8,700 rent a month,
Ooh.
wasn't being made. I mean, it was an absolute disaster. And I came to the point to where I had to sell my dream home, close
Mhm.
my shop, pay off, lick my wounds. And that was the hardest thing I've ever done. And
Mhm.
2 years, 2.5 years out of that now, I moved to Florida. I completely started over and recreated. And I was thinking about this just last week on a walk. What if I hadn't done that? Right?
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
if I hadn't? Would I be content and would I be able to live with myself?
Mhm.
No. So all of the things and all of the horrible things I've gone through since 2020, which we all have, I'm not crying, and I'm not the only one out there, but losing everything has been such a gain,
Yes. Yeah.
because on the side of that in 2024, headed into 2025, I lost everything.
Mm.
But what did I gain? I had time to come to Florida, heal, learn, listen to God's word, listen to podcasts. I met an amazing man that I never thought I would ever meet. And I would never have met him had I not lost everything in Nashville,
Mhm.
been in that humble way, been to now Florida, healed for 2 years. So through all of that loss, what did I gain? Well, I've gained wisdom. I've
Mhm.
gained strength in the Lord, strength in myself. I've become a better mom.
Mhm.
And I now have a love that I
Mhm.
never had had in Nashville because I was too busy.
Yeah.
I didn't have
Yeah.
time to have for a relationship. So that's what I can tell the viewers, that yes, I lost everything, but you have to think about going through that. What did I gain? And I
Yeah.
gained so much more than I had ever lost in money or monetary items.
It's so beautiful. And I
Yeah.
had the privilege of coming and visiting you in Florida during my tour in 2022. For those
Right.
ladies who might be listening and new to the program, I did a Lady Up America tour in 2022 ahead of the midterms, working with the GOP organizations and Moms for Liberty and all that, and just
Mhm.
testing out the Lady Up concepts, making sure that they had legs, and they did, thank God.
Right. They
But
did. Yes.
thank you. But I loved coming and just spending the day with you and your little sweet daughter. And I just look at the contrast in your life when you were here and when you were there. You look so much happier. Like you
Thank
just
you.
have a peace and a glow about you there.
Thank
And
you.
I love how nothing's wasted with God.
No.
Nothing's wasted.
Not.
We
We
can
think it
trust.
might be. Yeah, we can
Mhm.
trust that, maybe all of that I went through is now preparing me for my new creation and my new life, and what my real passion is. And that's being courageous and talking to people and talking to women about how we can have a voice and be
Mhm.
courageous in these very scary peril times.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
was it a loss? I don't think so.
Mhm. You know, let's kind of segue to the modern culture right now. And again,
Right.
you're one of the most courageous people. You're very bold in sharing your beliefs, and you don't have that fear of, being canceled or being
Mm.
ostracized or any of that.
Because I was canceled and ostracized. So there you go.
Mm.
I was,
Mhm.
yeah, I was death threats, canceled. Yeah. So I have been all of that. So, yeah.
Wow.
So sorry, I didn't want to cut you off,
No,
but
no,
yes,
no.
I
It's
have been
good.
canceled and have had death threats and have had all of that.
So
So,
how did you so I think once you go through that too, you realize
right.
it's not as big and scary as we think it is. Like there again, it might be in that moment, but on the other side of it, you realize that it just doesn't have any teeth. Like if we live for that audience of one, that's really
Right.
what matters at the end of the day. I mean, look at what the disciples went through. We've been reading,
Yeah.
my husband and I've been reading every morning through the book of Acts lately, and I just look at what Paul went through, and it's like their cancel culture makes ours look like child's
Oh,
play.
yeah, they're burning them at the stake. Like, well, our cancel culture, so people are going to unfollow you on Instagram.
I know.
What the heck?
Might not get
Or call
invited to
you,
the Tupperware
call you
party.
every female part or name. It's like, really? Okay, who cares? I
Yeah.
have a boss, and he's God. It's
Yeah.
God. I don't work for the minions down here. I work
Right.
for God.
That's so
And
good.
I'm sorry, you can't cancel me, because guess what? I'm on the right side of history, and
Yeah.
I'll stand on that right side of history, because the other side is a no-go, and you honestly do not want to be there. I'm not judging you. I'm scared for you.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
truly, I'm afraid for you. Please, please open your heart to what's going on. Take your blinders off, even Christians in the church. And I mean,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you're going to vote for who?
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
What? So
Yeah. I know. Or even, there's 40% of suburban moms don't even vote.
I
And
can't like the Christians, like we're powerful, but
yeah,
most Christians, I guess 2/3 of the Christians don't even vote.
don't even vote.
What?
I
That
know.
that number one, that's our right as a American. That's an
Mhm.
amazing right that a lot of countries don't ever get and a lot of people don't get to do. And then
Right.
you're just going to waste that. Plus our
Yeah.
voice, our Christian voice is very powerful, but
Yeah.
we've been so timid the last 50 years in the
Mhm.
church and it has really hurt us
Yeah.
because we haven't been courageous and
Mhm.
we've been timid and passive and it
We
has
have.
to stop.
All of this has happened on our watch.
Right.
People can
Right.
sit back and say, well, there's nothing little old me can do. I'm just one person. Well, if
Right.
at scale, so many people having that attitude with God. I mean, look at what God did with just single people. Look at Gideon. Look at people in the
Right.
Bible that
Right.
when God's in it, it's not just little old you,
Right.
and
It's not.
approaching these conversations, learning to get really comfortable in these uncomfortable conversations. We have been politically correct long enough.
Yeah,
We have
correct.
been passive long enough while we've been sitting back and afraid of being canceled or whatever it is, or afraid of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
don't push your religion on me and all these
Put your
pushbacks that we get.
politics on me. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Politics
and
is downstream of culture.
right. We've also been in the whole, oh, well, I'm going to wait for the rapture. I've had so many friends
Yeah.
say, oh, just take me away, God, the rapture.
Yeah.
No, we're planted here for a time as this. We're
Right.
supposed to be powerful in our time.
Right.
God wants us to do something, not just be passive and wait for the rapture. Good
Yeah.
grief, we're supposed to take those mountains.
Yes.
Caleb, give me that mountain. It's mine. I need to be
Mhm.
courageous. I need that mountain. And we need to have the 7 mountains of influence and we need to
Mhm.
start taking those
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
what we cannot be on the defense anymore. We
No.
have to be on the offense and we
Mhm.
have to use our gifts, our skills, what God has given little old us in our
Mhm.
failures, which I'm guilty of it everyone else is. I'm just as guilty.
Yeah. Me
Did
too.
I fall for things? Was I not the voice I should have been 20 years ago, 10 years ago? Yes. And I
Mhm.
apologize for that. But
Yeah.
I'm now on the right side of history and I'm now really trying.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the key right there. Because me too. I mean, I have no
Mm.
stones to throw. I lived in a
No,
glass
I
house
don't
for a
either.
long time too. And I think
Right.
as we grow and we mature in our faith, then we start to realize the gravity of the situation. And when we look back, I think a lot of us now, we have made a lot of assumptions about what was going on in culture with our kids and schools and all that. We just assumed they were
Right.
getting the same education we were. We've been busy.
Right.
We A lot of us single moms for a long time. It's like all you can do to get through a day. So no judgment. It's just we're at a place
Correct.
now where we have to look back and take that responsibility. It's not shame, but there is a conviction I think that's come out. And the other thing you said that I
Definitely.
agree with you, I say this a lot, Gigi, that even if Jesus comes back tomorrow, like I do think we're in the end times. He said none of us would know the day or the hour, but we would know the
Right.
season. I'd say we're certainly in the season. So even if he
Definitely.
does come back, I don't want him to catch us down like in the dugout biting our nails. I want him to catch us at the plate still swinging for the rafters like we got the whole
Right.
game left. And
I
that's
agree.
the key. It's not shrinking back and just waiting for deliverance. It's being out on the field and trying to win as many people as we can because what's on the other side of this life, when you say I'm scared for them, I share in that so
Mhm.
much. It's
Right.
very, very serious. And we'll have to
It is
answer to
very
God for that.
serious.
Mhm.
Well, and they talk about in the Bible with the talents. The
Yeah.
wealthy person leaves and gives each person a talent. And then some went and made 50 more talents and some went,
Right.
I'm not, I'm just taking a short piece of it. And then a few went and just hit them. Oh, I didn't know what to do, God. I just hit it. And
Yeah.
God's like, you evil servant,
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
out. I'm throwing you with
Yeah.
the gnashing of the teeth. So it's just, oh, well, just sit here with our one talent and let's be passive and not be courageous. And, maybe God will just take us in the rapture. I don't know if God is going to be okay when he comes back and he sees all these people that have buried their talents, buried their voices, and have been passive. I,
Hmm.
if I was God, I'd be angry. I'd be like,
Yeah.
what the heck? I gave
Yeah.
you all these talents.
Yeah.
What'd you do with them?
Yeah. He
You
gave
ungrateful servant.
Yes, exactly. Like he gave us that responsibility
Right,
as the church. And I heard somebody say recently that I thought it was so smart. It's not that evil has been increasing in the world. It's that the light of the church has been diminishing. And when
right.
we look at a lot of these churches that are really selling out, I mean, I remember going to church with you that day, and I think you have a great pastor who preaches the word. We need courageous pastors too, and not to
Right.
be following people who are leading us astray.
Well, another thing that I know this is hard to say, but and it's recently I've had to really look at this myself. If you are going to a church where they're politically correct and they are still on that fence of politically correctness, you should leave that church because
Mhm,
that is not a growing church. That is a
mhm,
church that's passive and they're not doing their duty as
mhm.
Christians to follow the truth.
I
So
wholeheartedly
that's
agree.
another thing. If you're on the politically correct fence and you're a Christian or you're a pastor, you're on the wrong side of history. Because I
Yeah.
nowhere in the Bible does it say that a pastor needs to just keep his mouth shut and be politically correct, like in the 1930s in Germany. Oh, well,
Mhm,
we'll just keep
mhm,
our mouth shut.
mhm.
Bonhoeffer talked about,
Yep,
right?
yep,
And here they were, oh, we'll just be oh, this little old Hitler, he'll be fine. We'll just look
yeah,
what happened.
yeah,
We're literally living right now in the 1930s in
yeah,
the church in Germany. Are we
yeah,
going to stay passive and sit on? Because if you're passive and you're on the politically correct fence, you're on the wrong side of history,
yeah,
period. You are.
period. Mhm. That's right. Our common friend Sandra Lee talks a lot about
Mhm.
how you have to pick a side now. You can't ride the fence
Right.
anymore.
No,
You're
you
either
can't.
all in for God or you're all in for the enemy, but there's no in
Right.
between anymore.
There
It's a
isn't. There
spiritual
isn't.
battle.
And I chose that in 2020. I really, and I got persecuted from it and I got banned and a lot of speaking gigs because it was colleges. They wouldn't hire me anymore.
Mhm,
Go
mhm,
figure.
mhm,
And so, because they saw my Instagram and what it says, and that I stuck up for this, and this. And so I was ostracized in many ways.
wow.
And I was like, okay, at first it hurt. At first it was like, what am I going to do? Oh, well, maybe I should just numb myself and not talk about it. And I thought, no, I don't think that's what God wants me to do in this time. Do I
Mhm,
have all the money and the fame and the power like I did before? No, but do I have God? And am I more stable in myself and ready to do what God wants me to do now? Yes, I am.
yeah.
I'm
And
at that point.
that's where true I think that's where true maturity and faith lies right there.
Right.
Is are we
Right.
living for the accolades and the acceptance of the world, or are we living for a standing ovation in heaven? You know, and
Right.
I've been around fame my whole life, in
Mhm.
different aspects of it, and it is so fleeting. It just doesn't matter. At the
Yes.
end of the day, it is so fleeting, and we can't be chasing that or even just looking for even if we're just an average everyday person, we can't be
Right.
looking for the approval of everyone
No.
or the acceptance of everyone. We need to be a lot more concerned about the acceptance from God.
Well, it came to a real head. And I was putting out, and this is where I figured out and finally was like, I got off the politically correct fence. I had put emails out. I had a mailing list for my pies, right? And just a
Mhm,
mailing list of my strawberry pretzel pie. I'll never forget this. And we just put it out. I can't tell you how many thousands were on the email list, but somehow I got this lady's email, right? And so I received the most cutting email back. Now, from someone that I had no idea who it was, but somehow she was on my mailing list. And I thought, if I'm going to be cussed out and told all these horrible things about a
Mhm.
strawberry pretzel cream cheese pie,
Mhm.
I thought, wow, I guess it's time to not be silent on how I feel politically or what they're
Mhm.
doing to our children at school or
Mhm.
how I feel about my walk with God. If I'm going to be cursed by it from a pretzel pie, okay, gloves are coming off. I mean, that was literally the day where I'm like, man, maybe I should run for office. If I'm going to be like death threats and over a
Come
pie,
on in, the water's
I'm
warm.
like, good grief. Okay, well, maybe this is a sign from God that I should just run for office because here I am. So that was kind of the turning point for me. Most people would have thought would be very painful and hurt. And it did. It was very painful. I laid there like, God, how could someone want to kill me and, cuss me out? And I mean, it was just the most horrible thing. And I thought, okay, maybe God is trying to tell me something, that maybe it's time that I start not worrying about what people say and what the
Mhm.
masses say, but
Mhm.
really worry about what God says and
Right.
where my heart is going. So
That's
that's
right.
the day that I really jumped on the, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna really make a better walk, make my walk better with Jesus,
Mhm.
and talk about it. Talk about
That's
it
so
more.
good.
And that was the day.
That's
And
so good.
it's been rough in some ways ever since, but very rewarding as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm right there with you going through that in 2020. Many listeners know, but some may not, that I ran for State House of Representatives here. And,
Yes.
I had never run for office before and didn't really know anything about what that would look like. And
Right.
I took very, very vicious darts too. And the origin of Lady Up America was they started coming from my own adult son. And,
Hmm.
being canceled by him over political differences, being told
Right.
that my Christian worldview is toxic to him and his family and that he's got to protect
Hmm.
his family. Um, you
Wow.
know, that's about as bad as it gets to get canceled by
That's
your own child.
that is
And
that
it's
is
been
really sad.
it's been a very, very, very tough thing, but I will tell you, ladies, that I'm not encouraging you to go do something to get canceled. What Lady Up is
Yeah,
about is it's been I learned a lot from that loss. And
I
now I
bet
can
you
go back
did.
and say, how could I have handled that situation better and applying
Right.
all these techniques that God had been showing me my whole life. It just didn't click.
Mm.
Um,
Right.
but this is the origin of it. But the point is that God brings a lot of healing. I mean, He has completely healed
Yes.
my heart from that. I still miss my son. I still pray every
Sure.
day for reconciliation. But
Well,
someone
maybe
said,
that'll come back around.
I think it will. A woman told me recently, she said, stop praying for reconciliation between the two of you. Start praying
Right.
for reconciliation between him and God.
Yes,
And
that's a great thing.
if God can win his heart, then the rest will take care of itself.
That's
But
right.
that healing has happened, and I now have used that, I've repurposed that pain into
Right.
Lady of America. So, again, nothing is wasted in God's economy. All of it is used for his good. The
And I'm very
situation may
proud
not
of
be
you.
good.
I'm
Thank
proud
you.
of you.
Thank you.
Very proud of you because losing that is a horrible loss, and I have also lost family members as well because of
It's
that.
really
So
painful.
it's very hard. Yeah, it's very
Yeah, it
hard.
is. But even that worst case, I am whole. Like, I've worked through all the forgiveness over it. I did go
Right.
up and see him last summer. I extended an invitation for him to come meet me at a cafe, an hour or a mile from his home, and he did come. And we've started the road back. It's going to be a long road back, but
Right.
I showed up for him.
That's all you can
That's all
do.
I can do. That's all I can do.
Right. That's all you
But
can do.
I think we need to just get over the consequences. And we
Right.
need to speak truth in love. We need to learn how to have these hard conversations. Do it
Right.
with a place of boldness and courage, but also
Right.
humility at the same time. And Gigi, before we go, if there is something that you could leave in the hearts of the ladies listening today, one of the things we really like to do is plant seeds, in
Right.
people's hearts. If they have a family member or a friend, someone that holds an opposing view and they don't know how to have the conversation, they don't know how to have this tough conversation. Maybe it's about the trans movement, maybe it's about abortion, whatever it is, who they're going to vote for, whatever it might be. what could you leave in her heart today, or maybe a seed she could plant in that conversation that would be helpful?
Well, I was listening to Jordan Peterson the other day, and he was talking about how most people, most average people, have a belief system. And we were in most Americans, let's just say Americans, and we were raised with this belief. Why do we have a Christmas tree? Why do we do this? Why do we do? We don't really know why we do it. We just do it because it's our traditions, right? And it's our
Hmm.
beliefs.
Yep.
And most people, when they're confronted with someone that's opposing you or someone that's evil or whatever that is, it may not be evil, but someone, most people don't know how to say, no, I don't agree with you, because they don't like confrontation.
Right.
But
Especially women.
what,
Hmm.
especially women are like, oh, I don't want confrontation. But what I could say to everyone is, you don't have to have every answer and everything right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, but you can say, no, I believe this. I
Hmm.
believe this way. And you're not going to tell me or persuade me or shame me into thinking that my belief is wrong.
Yeah.
And I think every little baby step, if
Hmm.
we just do a baby step, and someone says, I was on an airplane with a guy that was a liberal atheist. I mean, name it. He was a horrible. And he absolutely grinded me the whole plane flight, yelling at me
Mm.
and, grinding me. And I was like, no, I don't agree with you. I
Hmm.
respectfully don't agree with you. And here's
Yeah.
why. And
Yeah.
then no, I don't agree with you. And here's why. So all you have to say is, I don't agree with you.
Hmm.
I respect you as a person, but I
Hmm.
don't agree with you.
Right.
And even if you don't know why, if they say, well, you don't even know why, well, you know what? I can't tell you why, but you know what? In my gut and in my heart, I know why. So just, I'm going to go with my gut that that's wrong, and I'm just not going to agree with you. So a
Hmm.
baby step would be like, that doesn't feel right to me. I don't agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Just a
don't
little
agree
bit
with
of
you.
just taking a stand for yourself,
Right. Right. Or
and not
when
going along
someone
to get
cuts you
along.
down, and when someone cuts you down and says, well, and says something condemning to you, you could
Hmm.
just say, would you repeat that?
That's
Would you
good.
repeat, because they don't get the dopamine from the second
Yeah.
time when they're trying to put you down? Would you
Yeah.
repeat what you just said to me?
That's good. I like that.
And yeah, I'm sorry, would you repeat what you just said to me? And
Mm.
they'll go, well, you da 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 da. Huh. Well, that's interesting that you feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you. I think you're wrong.
Mm.
Straight face. I mean, you don't have to argue with someone. You could just say, can you repeat that to me?
Yeah.
They don't get the dopamine on the second time
Yeah.
they say it, right?
Yeah.
But then then you can go, that is very interesting that you would say that to me. I
Hmm.
don't agree with you.
Yeah. And
That's all.
just that gracefully. Like, I think the
Yeah.
other thing is that we have to stop being so easily offended. We have to believe what
Right.
God says about us and not give a
Right.
whole lot of weight to someone who's mean-spirited, what they're
Also,
saying to us.
right. Or also, don't be easily offended by yourself. Like, oh, he offended me. He hurt my feelings. Don't be so offendable.
Yeah.
Grow up. Get a
Yeah.
shell. Come
Yes.
on.
Yes.
You have to just quit. Oh, he hurt my feelings. Really? If that's not going to hurt your feelings, honey, come on. Let's just man up, woman up here.
That's right.
Don't be so easily offended
Yeah.
by what people say. Just say, oh, I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
And you
Offense
don't
is
have
for
to.
amateurs. Like, at this point, what I tell women
At
all the
this
time,
point,
yeah,
yeah,
it's for
offense is
amateurs.
we don't have time. We don't have time to be offended.
Right.
We have to move forward,
Yeah.
put the grace of God on and our
Mhm.
powerful armor, and
Yep.
just move forward and plow forward.
That's
Even
right.
if we're just simple, I'm just a house cleaner, I'm just a mom, no, you're a child of the King.
That's right.
You have a purpose. You
Mhm.
are meant to be here at this time, Esther's.
Mhm. Yep.
Let's do something. All
Yes.
you have to say is, I'm ready, God. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know where you want to put me, Lord, but I'm ready for whatever you want to do. Plant me, God.
That's right. That's right.
I'm ready, God.
That's so good. That's so good. Just raise your hand and cooperate. And the beauty is he'll show us what to do in the moment.
He
He doesn't usually give us much lead time. I found that he'll show up in the moment that I need him. Sometimes in those tough conversations, I'll just stop and say, literally in the mid conversation, I'll stop and I'll pray, God, give me the words. Just give me
Right.
the words. And he will put them in your
And
mouth.
when he does show up, you better not be afraid to do it.
Yeah.
You better woman up and do it.
Lady
So
up.
if
That's
you
right.
ask God, lady up, if you ask God, God, show me where you want me, and he shows you, and you
Mhm.
still don't have the courage to do it, shame on you, women,
Mhm.
ladies. Shame on
Yeah.
you. Ah,
Yeah. We have to do it. I'll just leave us with this thought. When I ran for office, I was terrified the night before I turned in
right,
my papers, terrified and up all
right.
night, sick to my stomach. I was just thinking to myself, what am I doing? I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. And
But you did it.
I got on the phone with my coach the next morning, who'd been kind of helping me make the decision. And
Mhm.
she just got so frustrated because we've been working on it like a year. She's like,
Right.
Diane, what is your problem? God's telling you to do this. I'm like, I just feel like I'm going into the lion's den. And she
You are.
literally busted out laughing. Yeah, she said that. She goes, oh, you are. And then she said thing that changed everything. She said, how did that work out for Daniel?
Hmm.
And I
Right.
thought, you're right. And that's when I decided to lady up and do it. So we
Right.
just have to get over it. We just have to
We
get
have
over it.
to
Yep,
get
it's going to
over
be
it.
scary. You might be on trembling knees, but you just have to do it anyway.
Just
And
do it.
you've done that your whole life, Gigi. I honor you for your
Thank
courage.
you.
And thank you for coming and pouring into our ladies here today who are listening. And it's just been a
Thank you
tremendous
so
blessing.
much.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
If you'd like to learn more about Gigi, you can go to gigibutler.com. You can order her books and learn more about her there. And also, I encourage you to go to ladyupamerica.com. Make sure you order your book club kit. Invite 5 women into your living room.
Right.
Let's get trained up for this election season. Let's learn how to have these really tough conversations with grace, with courage. All right. I will see you guys next time. Lady up.
Thank you.
Around this town, lady up around this town. Victory on the battleground.